Back here on the Cover 3 podcast on CBS Sports HQ. That's Tom Fornelli. I'm Chip Patterson. Tom, there are 6 bowl games on Saturday, and it is the last day of this season that we'll have 6 or more games. So take a moment, cherish it, embrace it. It's going to get started at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's going to take us all the way into early Sunday morning. So let's get into some picks for the entire slate on our final Spray the Board Saturday. 11 a.m. Eastern time in Boca. It's the Boca Raton Bowl. Fantastic matchup between a pair of teams that made their conference championship game but fell a little short. It's App State. It's Western Kentucky. As we get closer to Saturday and kickoff, what's your best bet for this game?
You know, this is a game I feel like in real life, I'm going to wait until it starts and see how it goes and get a live bet in there. But as far as pregame bet, I do think that this spread is dead on, but I also think that I'm going to take Western Kentucky simply because in this bowl environment, we know Bailey Zappe's been lighting up the stats this season as a quarterback for the Hilltoppers, and we know he's a few touchdowns short of setting an NCAA record. And I think they're going to be interested in trying to get him that record. So I think the Hilltoppers are going to come out hot. They're going to come out firing, looking to score a whole bunch of points. And when it comes to the quarterback battle between Zappe and Chase Bryce, I'm going to take Zappe before Bryce. So I'm taking Western Kentucky +3. I don't love it. I think the spread is pretty close. I think this total's pretty close to perfect. So I'm going to take the underdog here. But like I said, I'll probably wait till the game starts and see what I can get live if there's a little bit better value. But I think the Hilltoppers are the right play.
Give me App State. I know laying the 3 is a little bit dangerous, especially going up against Bailey Zappe, but we are also talking about a Western Kentucky defense that I think App State is going to be able to move the ball against. Now, there is a little bit more balance, I think, overall to what App State has in terms of offense, defense than Western Kentucky. App State, number 2 in the Sun Belt in offense, number 2 in the Sun Belt in defense, while Western Kentucky, again, really riding the strength of that prolific passing attack. We also know the Mountaineers can move it on the ground, but it all comes down to one thing, Tom: never lost. As in, Appalachian State has never, ever lost a bowl game. 6-0. They made the jump to the FBS. They became a full-time member of the Sun Belt Conference in 2014. No. It's not what they do. I take App State to continue the streak. I will lay those points. We get started in the mid-afternoon on the East Coast, at least, with an earlier kick out in New Mexico. Albuquerque is the site of the New Mexico Bowl, where we've got Fresno State and UTEP. We do have an interim coach situation for Fresno State, though, because Jeff Tedford's coming back. Maybe Jake Haener, the quarterback, is going to be there. Maybe he's not. UTEP has not been bowl eligible in quite some time, hasn't had a bowl win since the 60s. So what can we expect from this game, and what is your pick, knowing that Fresno State is an 11.5 point favorite, over under sitting around 51-52?
Yeah, you know, when it comes to bowl games, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out which teams are motivated to be playing in a game. And what you just went over kind of answers that question as far as UTEP is concerned. They're trying to win their first bowl game in like 50 years. They haven't been to a bowl game in a while. They were one of the bigger surprises of the season. So you know they're going in this game fired up. I don't know what to make of Fresno State because, as you mentioned, Caleb DeBoer, their head coach, has left to take over at Washington. Jake Haener seemed to be following him back to Washington for a little bit there, but changed his mind, has decided to stay at Fresno. But we don't know if he's going to be starting or playing in this game. We probably won't know until game starts. So that puts a lot of variables in the air, but I like the over with all those variables because I do think that UTEP's defense, if you look at the numbers, it's been solid this season, but I think it's somewhat misleading as far as how they actually perform against teams with more talent, like the ones that they're going to be seeing today or tomorrow against Fresno State. So I think the total's a little too low. UTEP Miners defense is getting a little too much credit. Even if Jake Haener doesn't play, I still think this is a Fresno offense with a lot of skill players that could take advantage of the Miners defense. And I think on the other side, this is a UTEP offense. While it's not exactly high scoring or explosive, it is efficient with the ball. And I think they're going to be able to put some points on the board against this Fresno defense. So I see this total at 51.5. Strikes me as a little bit too low. I'm going over.
I'm going to take the dog in all those points, and the The questions about Fresno State in terms of who's playing quarterback, where the motivation is in the middle of a coaching change. I think that UTEP probably enjoyed getting a chance to catch its breath, even only for a minute, because there was such a rush to the way they started the season, and reaching bowl eligibility was just felt like they'd climbed such a mountain as a program, and they've done such a good job to get there that it kind of seemed like they just let the season slide after that. A little bit almost of a hangover from reaching bowl eligibility. That with a chance to catch their breath, with a chance to sort of refocus on this game individually, I think that they have a little bit of a bounce back and they're going to be able to stay within this number. Turning our attention to Shreveport, where we do have the Independence Bowl. It is BYU coming all the way from Provo to take on UAB. Now, BYU, of course, one of the top 15 teams in the eyes of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, a 10-win team. They are the deserved favorites here. 6.5 might seem a little light to me, but UAB obviously is one of the premier Conference USA programs of the last 4, 5, 6 years. With over under around 54.5, what's going to be your play here in the Independence Bowl?
Yeah, BYU in my mind is the co-Pac-12 champion alongside Utah. In fact, we can say they're outright Pac-12 champions considering that they beat Utah. But as far as this game is concerned, I like the over again here too, because when I look at this matchup, I just get the feeling that BYU can pretty much score as many points as it wants to. Like it could just say, we feel like scoring 42 today, so we're going to go score 42, because this is a similar situation to UTEP, where UAB's defensive numbers aren't bad. In fact, they're actually pretty good against the run. But when you look at the teams they've been facing and the strength of the schedule that they faced, it kind of makes me think those defensive numbers are a bit misleading. And this is a BYU offense that has been able to score points on a lot of good teams this season. And I think that will continue in this game. But on the flip side, BYU's defense, that's to me the biggest difference between the BYU team we've seen this year and the one we saw last year, is defensively they've kind of taken a step backwards. Teams have been able to move the ball and put up points on them pretty consistently. So I think the Blazers are going to find plenty of offensive success themselves in this one. So I think just like the last game, the total here is a bit too low. If it's under 56, I'm going over.
If it gets into a shootout, I like my play here. I'm going with BYU at 6.5. You've got to love the favorable number, because when it comes down to it, the high-end skill talent on the offensive side for BYU is going to be better than what you've got for UAB. Jaron Hall has done a fantastic job at quarterback coming in. You were the successor to Zach Wilson, top pick in the NFL draft. That comes with so much pressure. I think he got over that initial hump of the early season, even though he was racking up wins against Pac-12 teams, as Tom noted. He really settled in the back half of the season, and they've got one of the best running backs in the country, an all-American caliber type player in Tyler Algier. So I like BYU's offense, even if it does get into a shootout, as Tom's predicting, to be able to finish at least one touchdown ahead. So I feel confident, especially at 6.5, laying that number with the Cougs. Well, out in Mobile, the Lending Tree Bowl is going to feature Liberty against Eastern Michigan. Very interesting notes here, as we have Hugh Freeze and Liberty again in the postseason. They've got a couple bowl wins, both of them though as an underdog. Malik Willis, a little NFL draft spotlight opportunity for the quarterback who started the year near the top of Ryan Wilson's mock draft and many other mock drafts. But the season that he delivered leaves a little bit to be desired. So as you're looking at this game and Liberty favored by more than a touchdown, how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I'm not going to try to overthink this one too much, because as you just mentioned, Malik Willis is going to be an NFL quarterback. He's going to get drafted in the spring. Where he gets drafted and where he goes and how successful he'll be in the NFL, I don't know yet. But the fact is, Liberty has an NFL QB, Eastern Michigan doesn't. So I'm going to take Liberty and lay the points in this one, because I do think that on offense, they are the far more explosive of these two teams. And this is an Eastern Michigan team that from the start of the season until the end has been very inconsistent. They've been a roller coaster. There's been ups and downs. And from week to week, I was never really entirely sure what to expect from this Eagles team when I watched them play, and more importantly, when I bet on them. So I'm going to take Liberty here, lay the points, and just go with the NFL QB against the team without one.
I just think it feels too fun to be contrarian and jump on the other side of Malik Willis and NFL draft hype. Give me Eastern Michigan and all those points. I mentioned that Liberty has a couple of bowl wins, but again, both those were as an underdog. When you position Liberty with a chip on the shoulder, then yeah, this Flames team is going to be really excited. But against the Eastern Michigan team that it is favored by, I absolutely could see a situation where we see this team be a little bit pesky and just hang around, cause things to be a little bit difficult for Willis in his spotlight game. So I will take all of those points. Well, out in Los Angeles in SoFi Stadium, we have the LA Bowl. I believe it is officially the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. Congratulations to James. Oregon State favored by 7 in this game, over under about 67.5. A massive Mountain West championship game win for Blake Anderson and the Aggies. A story that we've loved to talk about on the Cover 3 podcast and here on CBS Sports HQ. Oregon State, great to break through under Jonathan Smith, be in the bowl game. Two very fun teams. What's your expectation for the game, and what's your pick?
First of all, do you think we could expense like a Cover 3 bowl? Like if we just decide we want to sponsor a bowl game, we can do it and then apologize for it later if we get in trouble? I think we should try. As for this game, I mean, you and I have been two of the biggest Utah State cheerleaders in the college football media all season long. We have loved this team from the beginning of the year to the end. It's one of the bigger surprises of the season going into the Mountain West, which had one of the more entertaining races in both divisions for the conference title all season long, for the Aggies to not only win their division, but win the conference and do it in such impressive fashion for San Diego State. I don't think that momentum is stopping in this game. I think they're going up against a good Oregon State team, but they're going up against a team that they can compete with, and they're getting too many dadgum points, Chip. Utah State is 6-1 against the spread in its last 7. It is 5-2 against the spread in its last 7 as an underdog. And in their non-conference games, the last 14, they're 10-4 against the spread. So in a game in which I don't see either defense really being able to stop the other offense, I think the Aggies are going to put up a lot of points in this game, and at the very least stay within a touchdown, if not win outright. So give me the Aggies.
Yeah, they don't quit. Blake Anderson's team don't quit. They don't stop fighting. They hang in games. They got punch after punch after punch. Logan Bonner will come back for more. Hey, ask Air Force what happened. Air Force thought they had Utah State dead to rights 3 times in that game, and Utah State continually climbed back from multiple double-digit deficits. You can't count Utah State out ever. Of course, they rolled San Diego State, so they're coming in with a ton of confidence. Yeah, give me the Aggies and all those points, and definitely make it. Of all the games on Saturday, it is my favorite moneyline sprinkle. Well, we will finish our Saturday out in New Orleans, where in the Superdome we get to see the in-state Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. We don't have Billy Napier on the sideline, but many of those 5th year and super seniors are still out there, the ones that won the Sun Belt Championship. We're promoting internally, so we've already got our head coach situation settled. No interim here for the bowl game number 1. And Marshall, this is also bowl number 1 for first-year head coach Charles Huff, who came over to the Thundering Herd from Alabama's coaching staff. Fascinating coach matchup here. Again, first bowl game for both of these head coaches. A very, very short spread. What do you expect here? What's going to be your pick?
Yeah, I'm going with Marshall here because, as we've talked about, the motivation factor plays a huge thing in bowl games. And if you're Louisiana, last offseason, Billy Napier was a candidate for other jobs in the SEC. He was a candidate for South Carolina and other places, and he decided to stay at Louisiana because he wanted to come back, because he knew he had nearly his entire team returning, and he knew that they could not only compete for another Sun Belt title in 2021, but possibly reach a New Year's Six Bowl. They did accomplish the goal of winning another conference title, but they did not get the New Year's Six Bowl. And then Billy Napier takes the Florida job. So I would say he bet on himself and won. But if you are the players who remain, you kind of came back and accomplished what you want to accomplish. And while you're happy to be in this New Orleans Bowl, it's not really the goal for you, considering, it's not much of a trip for you from your home and campus in Lafayette. So it's not like you're getting a really reward out of it. You're just driving down the road for a little bit, and you're facing a Marshall team with all the motivation in the world to come in and play a conference champion and show the people what they're made of. As you mentioned, Charles Huff, it's in his first year in the program. This is a team that historically has always done well in bowl games. Under Doc Holliday, they were one of the safest bets every single bowl season. And I think that offensively, this is a team that, they get a little inconsistent, they get a little loose with the ball, they can be dangerous with the turnovers. But when they're playing well, they can put a lot of points on the board. And I think this is the kind of game where they're going to be able to hang. And like you said, you're taking a money line sprinkle with Utah State. I'll take one with the herd.
Yeah, the line has also been moving this way quickly. So if you're watching us here on CBS Sports HQ and you like Marshall, we're sitting on a key number. Hurry, because that number might not be there long. Who knows what happens by the time we get to kickoff. I'm going to take the under. I like your Marshall play, especially seeing the way that this line has been moving. We just were talking earlier about how that Louisiana offense, even when they're throwing the ball, it's not like they're bombing it down the field. It's really kind of an extension of their run game. So I just see this game where trying to win at the line of scrimmage is such a big part of the identity of both these teams. Marshall's got like a top 3 defense in terms of yards per play at the Conference USA level. I think that the way the game plays, the pace of it, it just ends up being some longer drives when they're successful. And when defense ends up winning, then we just end up playing a field position game. It's a little bit lower scoring. So I will take the under on that one. Let's take a look at all these picks. Again, the last day of this season with 6 or more bowl games. Cherish it. It is Spray the Board Saturday. Western Kentucky and App State were split on that one. UTEP is where I'll go for UTEP Fresno State. Tom says the over. Over is also Tom's pick for UAB BYU. I'll take BYU. Split decision. I'll take Eastern Michigan, the underdog, while Tom is riding with Malik Willis and Liberty. A little bit of lock agreement with Utah State. And then if you want to coordinate that parlay, Marshall, again, go and get it right now. And the under, I think we see that game playing out the same way. Bowl Season Daily is available on the Cover 3 podcast, a new show, short form, every morning that there is a bowl game, just focusing on that day's games. Go and subscribe to the Cover 3 podcast wherever you get your podcasts. He is Tom Fornelli. I am Chip Patterson. Tom, thank you very much.
Thank you.